City Council meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance by Rhonda Seth.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
The invocation will be by Mr. Buell.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for another wonderful day and another opportunity to meet here this evening. And as our meeting progresses and decisions have to be made, we ask that you give us the strength, courage, and the wisdom to make the decisions that we feel are in the best interest of our city and that of our residents. We pray for our first responders, our police and firemen, our EMT fellows, our men and women of our armed forces stationed abroad and stateside. And Lord, I ask that you travel with each and every one of us as we head home when we're done. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Next item we have on the agenda is visitor comments. Is there anyone that has want to approach council on an issue that is not part of the regular or consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 2, which is declaration of conflict of interest. This is an opportunity for members of City Council to define or to state that they have a conflict of interest regarding to any item on the agenda. Is there any conflict of interest to declare? Hearing none, we'll go to item 3 is consent agenda. I have consent agenda item A, approval of minutes of October 4, 2021. Item B is accept board and commission minutes for planning commissions, Charter Review Commission, and Traffic Commission. Item C, ordinance amending Chapter 82, solid waste to prohibit scavenging of solid waste placed for collection, including heavy trash items, second reading. And item D, approve resolution adopting the city's investment policy for fiscal year 2021-2022. Is there any item that council would like to remove for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a motion for consent agenda.
Move for approval consent agenda items A through D.
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Consent agenda is approved. We'll move to regular agenda. Item A, discuss and consider request to close alley behind Lake Jackson Head Start located on 303 Garland Drive from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. for a private trunk or treat event on Friday, October 29, 2021. Is there a representative on this item? You come up and tell us a little bit about it, what your plans are. Give us your name and address.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Cabrina Gardner, and I'm the principal at the Lake Jackson Head Start on 303 Garland Drive. And this year I wanted to do something different with the children, like for our fall festival. And so we want to have like a trunk or treat behind the building in the alley there. But we wanted to only have like about 5 cars, not a whole lot, for the safety of the children. So we wanted to see if we could close that alley. And I think the time was supposed to be from 9 to 10:30.
Okay.
And I had called almost all the businesses. I didn't get in touch with Armstrong McCall or the rehab center, but everyone else was in agreement with it.
That's just an hour and a half.
Yeah.
From 9 to 10:30.
So that's just used for deliveries to the businesses back there, or?
Yes, it's just what the dumpsters are, and
Right.
just few cars pass through there, but
So it won't create a problem for the businesses you haven't heard from. You don't think
I
it
don't
would create
think
a
it
problem for
will.
them as far as business goes?
Okay, ma'am, did you say 9? Or is
yeah,
it
I think they have
9:30?
9:30 on here, but I think when I
Okay.
talked to Miss Sally, it was 9 to 10:30. It might have been a
We got to change that?
No, that's minor enough that it's fine.
Okay. As far as the 5 cars, is that going to be parents or it's going to be staffers?
Parents.
Parents.
It will be parents. Uh-huh.
Okay.
And this is not open to the public, correct?
No, it's
strictly
just for their
your
Head Start
children?
staff, children, and families only.
Yeah, and you just advertise it with your
Parents only.
parents only? Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions on this,
No, sir.
council? Any questions from audience on this? All right, I'll take a motion on this item.
Move for approval.
Have a motion to
Item A.
approve. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Again, any discussion on the item?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item approved. Thank
Thank
you very much.
you.
Thank you.
I'll get back with you on reading to the classes, okay? Okay, we have, we'll go to item B, which is discuss and consider the request from Seven Souls Tattoo Studio to include tattoo and body piercing studios to zoning in Lake Jackson. Mr. Cantu?
Good evening, everybody. How are y'all?
Great.
Good.
Is there anything else you want to say in addition to what you've already said to us before?
Not really, but I'm open to answer any
Okay.
questions y'all guys have.
All right. You have anything, Modesta, from staff? or-
No, other than the communication, we did, as council had asked, to see if we could get the word out a little bit, so we posted on Facebook. I'm not sure if we had something on the website, but overwhelming response in support of looking at changing or finding a place in the ordinance or in the zone for tattoo studio. Call-ins or email direct messages, it was probably 60% in favor, 40% opposed. But the Facebook percentage was, very high, and that's where we got most of, the comments on there. So that's the feedback that we've have gotten from the public to give to council.
And the only thing I want to caution about for Facebook is a very small population of individuals, and it's real easy for a loud voice to drown out other voices. So I'm just adding that out there is just that just because we had overwhelming responses, it's basically you could say that's
Not accurate.
it's 904 votes against, there's 28,000 people in the city. So it's just, again, it's just a sampling, is all
Yes,
I'm
sir.
trying to say. It's
Yes,
just a
sir.
sampling, it's not a scientific sampling, and so forth. I don't know about rest of council, and they can add if they want. I did have some people that reached out to me by phone or by message or by one-on-one as I traveled through the city, just voicing their concerns. And I tried to address those concerns just like I did the night that you made your presentation. And my main comment to them is that this is a certified, it is an approved business within the state of Texas.
Yes, sir.
And so we should treat it as any other business that's a approved state business,
Yes, sir.
approved in the state of Texas. So, so we talked through that, and then we always have the comment, be it this or any other business, people will say, well, yeah, and again, you've got a great following. And the people that know you know that you provide a great service and it's a great business.
Yes, sir.
And I just, people say, well, yeah, if we can just open it up to you and not the other guys. Well, we can't do that. It's going to be, once we open it up, it's to anybody that wants to open up, put a shingle on the wall and, rent a business, rent a location and come in to work, to open up an operation.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just saying this just as education or just a comment. But again, it's an approved state business, and so we should treat it. My opinion is that we should treat it as we would treat any business that was requesting to come in the city of Lake Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have?
I'll add one
Any
thing to
feedback?
that, is that I think you did an excellent presentation the other night. I
Yep.
think you clearly worked very hard to build a good reputation as a businessman. I think you have an opportunity here to continue to lead the way on that path of what, kind of setting the bar of what that business type should look like.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Quick question. Can you freshen my memory? What location were we looking at, or were you looking at?
So I spoke to Mrs. Stella, and she has a location that's in mind. It's actually it's the Stardust Coffee Shop right there downtown.
Lola on the corner
Yes.
by Bodega,
Yes, sir.
where the Carriage Flowers used to be.
Oh, okay.
Where Young Landia used to be?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
No, Young
No.
Landia was
On
on,
this, it's closer, Bodega's on the corner, and there's
Yeah.
like Zoom Goss used to be there, and.
right across from Lake Theater on the corner.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was under the impression that it was around Academy or something like
No,
that.
the deal
So-
is that we can define where we want to put, to approve the zoning, for which
Okay.
level zoning it is. That's still yet to be discussed. Right now, the discussion is if we want to move this forward to planners, so that planners can give that, get input and give comment back to us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
The reason I was leading towards that is, if it was downtown, did we send anything out to downtown businesses to
No.
get feedback from
So,
them?
no, as part of,
That's where I was going with that.
no, as part of the process, if council wanted to proceed, you would then make a recommendation to the planning commission, and then they would start researching.
Okay.
To see if there are any additional regulations they would recommend, and what would be the proper zone or zones that this would be put in. And then they would start the public hearing process as well, and that could be their own public hearing, it could be a joint public hearing with council. Yeah, it would be, they don't look at a specific property, they're looking at, what's the appropriate zone or zones.
And I-
Okay, got it.
I would like to add that I spoke to most of the business owners there, and most of them said they would love to have us. So,
Yeah, and then I would add that the people I talked to, most of them were in favor generally. The only ones who expressed any type of concern they weren't concerned with the activities taking place within the establishment. They were really just concerned about sort of what it looked like from the outside. They have an image in their mind of the places they've driven by in Freeport and other places that they didn't think would be a good fit for our city, and I'm sure they had it in their brain somewhere specific. But if there's some, and I'm going through this, it's in our little packet here, and I sort of had a question generally about what kind of additional. I mean, we can pick the zone, right? That zone will have a set of conditions, but then I understand the law would also allow us to do additional sort of permitting requirements, or I just sort of wanted to know what other kinds of conditional type
Yeah, I mean,
restrictions can be placed.
my
on
understanding is
various-
that, just like with any other business, we could put restrictions on hours of operation also.
Right.
But if that's is appropriate and necessary, there are but I would assume that there's limitations on what restrictions we could put on.
Right, I mean, there are already, the state law has a lot of regulations already, but other cities that I looked at, they had hours of operation, and then they had a separate permit just to make sure that everyone's being licensed. They would
Right.
give the permit once they saw that that everybody was licensed correctly and the studio was licensed correctly. But when you think about hours of operation, you also want to think about, well, what zone are they in? Because those places already have hours of
Right.
operation.
Right.
Some of them do and some of them don't. So, and I think this really started to be heavily regulated maybe 10 years ago by the state. And so a lot of the ordinances, if you want to look at ordinances, predate that. And so they have heavy regulations which aren't needed anymore because the state has
Right.
taken over doing that.
One of the things that I would be uncomfortable with is signage part. Some of those things you see, big tattoo, red, letters in the window, something like that.
Well-
That would be,
Well, you'd have to look at the sign ordinance, because certainly you don't want to treat one business different from
No,
another
definitely.
business. And we let people put stuff in their windows.
Right.
So if you want to stop having that, then we need to take a look at the sign ordinance, see what we can do about that.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this with Sherry and Modesto, and also is that the sign ordinance right now, it's allows that the building can have, up to 20 or 30% of the building can be signage. And then, but as far as the windows go, we do not have any restrictions currently in our sign ordinance that does it. I know there's some other concerns about some other businesses in the area that we have that some people raise concerns about, but that would be something we would have to take up separately as part of the sign ordinance.
just as a side note, our excuse me, our signage is just our shop name, really big, and it just says Seven Souls and really elegant letters. It's on the front of our packet. This is one of them here. The other one's not different, much different than the other.
Right.
There's not a bunch of skulls or crazy stuff. So,
You bet. I mean, Vinay is worried about other ones, when other tattoo places open.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so these additional, like, I'm just looking on here, let's see. Conditional use, specific use permit required, annual permits. These other things, these are things that planners would consider as part of their
Right. Yeah,
process
they could
for.
consider, if you need,
One says like it can't be within so many feet of a school, I think it says on here.
right,
There's just different.
there were some restrictions how close you are to a school and how close they are to the next tattoo parlor. Those were, there were some restrictions like that, because I guess they didn't want to block a tattoo parlor.
Right.
Um,
So conditions like that would be available to planning commission to consider as part of the whole, because they're going to take a really more, tight, detailed look into how all this stuff fits into the various different zones that I don't even really know.
yes.
I certainly don't know it as well as planning does, and they'll have the similar,
Yes.
things
we'll give
available
the
to them.
guidance That,
Right.
what other cities are doing, and they can discuss whether or not they want,
Okay.
they think that that's necessary. And then it'll come back to you. ultimately.
right, eventually, it does after a couple rounds of public input and all that stuff. Okay. So, yeah, that's all I want to add.
Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, they'll provide us with recommendations like and then we make the final decision to either accept the recommendations as presented or to modify those if we feel necessary.
And I would say if council is favorable of sending this for the planning commission to study, it probably wouldn't be until the first of the year that it's being formalized, if something does get done.
Yes.
Well, this is just passing it on to them, we can vote.
They would study, because you have the public hearing, requirements of what they would, they need to study it. You'd have public hearing requirements for them, possibly public hearing requirements for them. So that process takes, easily 60 to 90 days to look at it, changing or adding to a zone.
And they have the ability to reach out to other businesses in
Yes.
various areas and query them for their input and things like that. Not, in addition to the open meetings, which anybody
Yeah.
can come to, they can do that pre-work and then have it to analyze as part of it.
Just not trying to be negative, it's just that sometimes it's a slow churn.
It's a longer than I was hoping for,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean,
Government does work slow.
yes, sir.
But you want it to work
On
slow.
purpose, right,
Yeah,
for a
you want
reason.
it to work slow.
Well, I wouldn't want to
Except when
open
you're a
up.
businessman, you don't want it to work slow, but
Yes, sir.
Yours,
we understand.
yours isn't the only one that's worked slow out here.
I understand.
Okay. Trust me.
So, any other comments, council? Is there any comments from the audience?
I have a couple comments.
Okay,
Always. Do I need to come up?
Yes,
there and
ma'am.
say it?
Absolutely.
Just the-
name and address again.
Yes. Joan Machoro, Machorro. My address is 420 Garland Drive, apartment 500, 77566. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that seemed like there were issues. One was that you're concerned that more tattoo parlors would come into town. And I guess I just wanted people to be thinking about why you're concerned about that. We have more than one restaurant in town. We have more than one clothing shop in town. It's kind of an interesting thing to be like,
I don't think anybody was concerned that more come. It's just
Right.
that,
Just that
that
it
they
was brought
follow
up.
the same standard.
right,
That's all.
right. And of course, restaurants all have different standards too. The question about what it looks like from the outside with the signage, we're talking about a sign that has a picture on it, and I'm wondering how much y'all regulate, the signs of things like Victoria's Secret in the mall. So a sign that says tattoo versus, people in bikinis, and I
That's
mean,
in-
I don't care. I'm
that's
just saying
inside
it's
the
an
mall.
interesting thing.
That's
I know it's
inside
not the mall, but it is in Lake Jackson,
It's
correct?
inside the mall. We don't control the mall.
You don't, the
The
mall's outside of Lake
The
Jackson?
outside of the mall,
Outside
but
the
not
mall.
the inside.
Right, right.
So
So
it's apples
I'm
and
just,
oranges.
right,
It's not the
I'm just
same
saying
thing.
that, whoever goes into the mall,
Yeah.
but, I mean, we're talking about a sign. And then, yeah, I guess that was it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the audience? All right, So the question here for council is if we want to move this forward and bring this, send it on to planners for further actions.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move this forward to planning and commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And we'll try to move along as fast as we can.
All right, thank you, sir.
There's
Thank you.
requirements of how long it has to be posted in the newspaper for
I understand.
meetings and stuff like that.
I understand.
That's what's really gonna slow us up.
Okay.
You had something real quick before we move on? Yeah, just step up.
Antonio Mendez, 708 Austin Street, True, Texas. I was just curious, I don't know if I missed it or not, I was a few minutes late. What's the standard time on getting something zoned like this?
Well, we're talking about it may take as long as 90 months, 90 months, 90 days.
90 days.
90 days. 90 days. It'll probably be, it may be, the end of the year.
Or so. Sally, when's the next planning commission meeting?
Second.
November 2nd. So November 2nd, the planning commission encourages
see
you
it
to
for
be
the first
there.
time.
That will be, that's when they see it for the first time.
And once they see it, is there any way to speed up the process?
No.
It's just whatever.
They
There's
still
only
have to
ways-
have the public hearing requirements, of course, to change by the charter. But they'll take this meeting or the next two meetings, looking at studying, and then they'll do their public hearing. They'll probably well, I can't speak for them. If they really want to work as quick as possible, they may try to have their public hearing process at, closer to the beginning than at the end.
Right.
And get public input before
they
they
only meet once a
really
month,
start
so-
work.
And
And they only meet.
also, the fact that we're talking about getting zoned here, if that doesn't go through, will y'all pick another area? Or will we have to come through and try to file again in order to get a certain area zoned?
When it's all said and done, if it's approved, it'll approve for a certain zone. And you'll know at that
Yeah.
point what zone it is.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the planning commission meetings are open to the
Yes.
public,
Yes, yes.
correct? So you
Absolutely.
can
And
And
attend
they meet
this as
second
well.
Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need to attend to?
Yes.
speak?
I would
be a good
encourage
idea.
You should.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
You should always
No,
have,
it'd
I
be a
would
great
suggest you always
idea.
have a representative there.
Yeah, so they do not look at a specific piece of property. They look at a area of zone. So downtown is a B zone or B2. But then we have commercial zones, like the mall is what it was called, is a commercial zone. So they may look at what is the appropriate zone. It may be all of them, or it may be one.
Okay.
All right, so basically it'll be up to them where we,
They'll make the recommendation.
And they bring it back to us.
Council makes the final decision.
okay, so I'll come back and meet with y'all again.
Once they make a recommendation, and that's the length of the process of them studying, going to the public hearing, and even if there was an ordinance today for city council to approve, council would be approving the ordinance today on first reading, and then they'd be required to have a second reading. So right there, that's a month right there of just adopting an ordinance
And it's the same process regardless of who's
for
asking.
everybody.
Yeah.
But congratulations, the first hurdle
All right.
Yeah,
thank you.
and-
is complete.
I appreciate it.
And,
Have a
and you,
wonderful night.
I would also suggest making sure they get, and I'm sure staff can get it to them, but all the work you've done that we've seen, make sure they get that in pre-work for their next,
Yes,
you know.
we will
Yes,
get that.
so
And
do
you can
I-
provide them with any additional information that you've got that you
Okay.
think would be, relevant to their investigation, and they'll look at it before the meeting. It's on the
All right.
second, you said, November?
Second
Yeah,
Tuesday.
November second.
Okay,
No,
Just the
Their
first
first
meeting,
meeting,
but they can look at that ahead of
Okay.
time, just like we can.
awesome. So do I need to go and sign up for that or?
no.
Okay.
Miss, your main contact still is Miss Villarreal.
Okay,
She will give that same information and the minutes that the council's had to discussing that, so they'll see that. But yeah, they'll see it for the first time, unless they probably have read the newspaper, but then they'll see the minutes of the council discussion, so they'll be aware of the discussion tonight and the previous meeting.
You'll be on their agenda.
okay, awesome. Well, thank y'all guys. You have a
Thank-
wonderful night.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item C, which is to discuss the request for the city to repair the curb damage on Talisman Street. Is Ms. Robinson here? Yeah, hello.
Hi, how are y'all?
Great.
Thanks for seeing me. I know I come up kind of late. I sent some pictures to Miss Villarreal this morning about my property on 104 Talisman. A couple years ago, my ex-fiance came and talked to somebody about the driveway and about how the water stands in front of there it is, how the water stands in front of my, my driveway. I consider it a pleasure to live in my house for over 18 years. I'm proud to say it's mine. And I take really good care of it. And after the storm, I cut down my limbs and stuff and brought all that forward. But as you can see, the water pools there and it stays there. And we had a beautiful last couple days. You know, the sun's been out. You know, it was great. But this morning before I went to work, I took more pictures and there's still water there. And the water has just, like, it's eroding my driveway. And John Fall came up here and talked to somebody and, you know, let them know about the driveway. And I don't know who he talked to, but he talked to someone and they were of the impression that, yes, the water is making the driveway wonky, and they were going to fix it. And then it's never gotten fixed, and my life is just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now. But after the storm, the curb, it just like washed away. And if I was strong enough, I could actually pick up that one piece down there. See where there's two pieces right there?
Do you have
It's completely gone. You know, it was completely loose.
You got a pointer.
And
Just
I
a
could
pointer.
just put it. Oh. Here we go. Right here. This piece right here used to go right here. But it's not connected anymore. And you could physically, well, if I was strong enough, you could pick it up and move it. And like all these little places right here, these are all broken and nasty. I can't even cut my grass here because it's such a steep place that my lawnmower would get all messed up. And see how, like right here, see how the grass is growing in the street now? And this is all the dirt from my yard, the dirt from right here. And, you know, I do the best I can taking care of my house, and, you know, it needs to get fixed.
Ms. Robinson, do you know how the curb moved, that section? Did someone move that, or is it
Well,
just?
I called and spoke with somebody last week, and when I got home from work, it was moved. So I do not know.
Oh,
So it
No,
was one
sir.
time where that water is.
Right. It was right
Fine.
here.
Take a look
And
at
then there's some other pictures, like over here, the curb, you can't see it. But on this side of the curb, there's like little pieces that have been broke off.
Right.
And my neighbors across the way, the water is pooling there now also, and their driveway is starting to crack and get all funky. And then, yeah, right here. And the water just stays there. And as you drive down the street, in the middle of the street, it kind of goes down. And if we're having high rain, or like if there's going to be a storm, the city always comes and puts out those little triangles that says, you know, high water, beware. Because it means a problem. And like I said, I've lived here for over 18 years, and it's always been kind of wet, you know. But man, I'd really appreciate it if y'all would fix it.
So
Is
what-
it bowing
what
out
is
right
the-
there too? Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yeah, all up and down the street, you can see the cracks. And one day I was across the street, and a city truck came by, and I was telling Miss Villarreal that they slowed down, like right by my yard, and were looking. But you know, you can't really assume.
So is
what
there a
they're gonna-
drainage, there's a drainage problem here with the street?
I'll let Mr.
It's really low.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Mr. Aguirre speak about the drainages, because we may be able to do a minor repair to a curb, but we will not be able to solve the drainage problem with the existing operating budget.
The same condition exists.
Yeah.
Brazilian
This is a
places are like
major,
That's 2 panel replacements at least.
yeah, and that wouldn't affect the drainage. This is most likely a major project. Mr. Aguirre?
Do I move? sorry.
Excuse me. Yes. What we have there, this predates me, and that's over 45 years. That whole stretch of street in Talisman had already been constructed before I got here. It was built at a time when, the development, this took place in two phases. One went half the street or half the block, and then the remaining one also went afterwards, but that goes about 50 years ago. And the drainage situation here is the fact that all this was designed based on surface drainage. It does not have any underground system at all whatsoever. The nearest underground system is beyond Sycamore that goes into this open area. If this is facing Sycamore, I don't know what this is. But it's beyond Sycamore where the nearest discharge point would be for this whole street. It would take, and it will take, major drainage, storm drainage situation in order to bring water from along all the street back into this area. In the opposite side, going towards Garland, you have the problem that there is also no major outfall at that location. There, as a matter of fact, this is where we have all these problems associated with the pond, the flooding of the Garland and the Flag Lake area, because there is no basic drainage channel in there, and that's what we're trying to hope that we can improve, and it probably won't resolve this problem. Where we need to go is goes towards the what we call the drainage ditch number 9, which starts at Plantation Drive and goes all the way across to the highway and beyond. So, yes, it'll take a major undertaking. It will be a major reconstruction job, just like the ones we have. We are going to undertake this this coming 5 years. And this particular street has never gotten into any of the lists that the bond program has worked on.
No, I mean, my guess is that, when you look at the street by itself on a sunny day, the street itself looks okay.
Mhm.
And that's maybe why it never caught the attention of a bond committee. But when you look at it a day like this, it's like, okay, it's not really a street project as much as it's a drainage project. So fixing the curb is cosmetic. I mean, and I know it's important for Miss Robinson, right there. But in regards to the drainage, it's not going to solve
It's
the
not going to
drainage
solve
issue.
the drainage problems, no.
But we definitely need to do something about not her losing her yard
Right.
into the street. So we need to take care of the immediate problem, but the drainage problem exists. Lots of parts of Lake Jackson, Dogwood, Cottonwood, Hollyhock Court. I mean, I could name because they live in streets. So we need to just make sure that the next bond task force we have for the next bond election, that we actually look at stuff on a wet day rather than on a dry day. And it's going to take some taking to get these fixed.
Yeah. The other hesitancy I had is just that there are a lot of curbs there that are
Oh, yes.
that are damaged and chipped.
Correct.
Miss Robinson's is clearly the worst there. But again, the operating budget is, if we wanted to repair every curb on that street, it would take the whole street operating budget. It would wipe it out. So it's, again, even doing curbs, it would be trying to fit it into a bond issue project or redoing the capital project. So most likely, all we're going to be able to do is make a spot repair, and everybody else is just going to have to kind of wait and see if we can fit something in long term. But hers is, again, there's no argument that it's the worst. I had a little bit of hesitancy as well. The mayor and I have had several discussions, just, what's the right repair? We've patched, I've even had paid for my curb to be replaced in front of my house. It lasted a couple of years. We did one on Southern Oaks. It's lasted, so maybe probably theirs lasted, it was a longer stretch, probably very similar to this, where there was rebar, where I don't think mine, they put rebar in. So that may be the reason why it's holding up longer. longer, but it's not the best solution. It may not be the long-term solution, because when you do curves like this and shape it by hand, it's not the strongest thing. We'd have to just ask Ms. Robinson if, and I know it's a hard request, tried to stay off from parking on it, because,
Yes,
you know,
and it's very
form
hard,
curbs
yeah.
afterwards. And I'm not saying that you are, it's like, but it'll last a whole lot longer if no one does park it. I know you can't keep dominoes away from it, but the more traffic that's, the least traffic that's on it, the longer it will last.
Yeah.
So when we repair curbs like that, do we use rebar?
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yes.
So that's
Correct.
kind of the newer standard.
Correct. The problem with this stuff, well, this is a different type of curve even from the ones that we're using today. We use a mountable curve, which is a little triangular curve, 12 inches wide, 2.5 inches on the lip on the street side, and about 4 inches on the back side. In this particular case, it's a combination. They used a very strange curve there that is not quite as flat as the one we use today. Now, but it only has a very small lip at the very street side of things. That lip is disintegrating, just like anything else. It probably has reinforcement in the main body of the curb, but in that particular little area there on the lip itself, it probably doesn't have
More
anything.
vulnerable.
It doesn't have anything. Now, to include the street, we're talking about, the street is about 1,380 linear feet. So you double that to more or less get an idea of what the extent of the replacement would be.
That's the new curve.
Yeah, that's a new curve. That is Southern Oaks. We probably repaired that probably this time last year, and you can see a small stretch. And it's still holding up. Of course, I don't think they have the drainage issue that
No.
Talisman is having. So that's probably why it'll hold up longer.
This curb that's there, is that what you would put back in front of this location? Or
Yes, we would do something. That's hand-shaped by our crews or a contractor. We would do something, very similar.
What does that curb cost?
Individually, probably $30 a linear foot. If we were doing everybody's, $20 a linear foot. So when you look at, because we don't do driveways, so the curb right there, that's the responsibility of the homeowner. So if you're a driveway, all of us as homeowners are responsible for, what in my eye, well,
Right there.
each homeowner is responsible for this. The city repairs this in front of the lawn.
Do we happen to randomly know what the linear feet are of Ms. Robinson's
So
property?
approximately 20 feet,
20 feet?
yes.
Okay.
So $600 individually, do them at a time. If we were going to do the entire stretch, it'd probably be about $45,000, which is the entire
budget for?
budget for the street department for repair,
For all of the whole year?
for the whole city, for the whole year.
And again,
This is just October, so.
again, if you go further down the street, most of it is cosmetic. It's chipped at the edges. It's not completely gone away like this one here.
Yeah, that's true.
I would not be in support at this time to redo the curbs all along that street. That's just cost prohibitive. We don't have the funding available for that. As far as for this property here, again, it's a different situation. It's completely gone away. I can support that as long as, again, we're putting in something that will last.
How's the street itself? I mean, is it, because
Yeah,
we
this-
do curb and street at the same time a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
For
Right.
Yeah.
economies of scale purposes, but how are those streets?
Of course, you saw what the ponding occurs in some locations
Yeah.
there. These aren't generalized, that's just in specific areas. Ms. Robinson's place, and probably across the street, there's another location a bit further towards Garland that's in the same shape, but the remaining area is, it doesn't have a problem there.
Okay.
There isn't any cracking of the street that you can tell.
I can tell you, all of the streets that got put on this last bond issue are worse than Talisman.
Right. Yep.
Streets,
But
okay.
to redo this section in front of her property would buy her some time and keep her yard up in her yard.
Yes.
It would.
potentially.
Correct.
It just wouldn't solve that ponding that's in front
The whole issue.
of there.
Yeah, it
It's-
would not
It just
yeah.
wouldn't solve that.
No.
Now, the question I have for council is that this is one resident. And there are, I'm sure, other residents that have the same issues. We can go find the dollars for this one, but we just don't have the funding to go out there and do a large, go through the city and fix curbs, just like we can't do a lot of things that we wish we could do.
Yeah, I don't know if we have seen this type of failure in any other part of town. I think this is the worst I've seen, and I've seen quite a few, so.
Yeah, I drove all the streets this weekend, just in that whole area, and there, surprisingly, the curbs are holding up a lot better. Talisman is taking the brunt of it, and it could be just because of it's holding more water, it takes more traffic and stuff, but this is clearly the worst section right here in front of Miss Robinson's house.
So again, what are you estimating on the cost?
Just, back of the napkin, we're thinking $600. We can afford that out of the operating budget. It's just to highlight that, once we start repairing, I'm sure we're gonna get several calls from the neighbors. It's like, you did Miss Robinson, can you do mine? And we're gonna have to regretfully say that, we're gonna have to say no. The budget just simply can't afford to do a lot of curbs.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's our responsibility to look at these problems, overall, which, it's a budgeting issue, I think, primarily. But I also think a citizen who takes the time to come forward and request it and show up to the meeting, if we can help them, I think we should.
Yeah. We'll just have to be, I mean, I hate
Just
to
do
say-
what we can do.
Yeah, I hate to say that. I mean, I feel like, we're just being, the staff's being, as judicious as we can,
If you don't
Yeah.
have it, you don't have it.
Right.
Right, like even in the panel replacement dollars, I thought, well, could we try to fit some of this in the panel replacement dollars, but that takes away from repairing an actual panel that needs to do it, so. Yeah, well, we may be able to make a couple of citizens happy, but overall, we won't make a lot of them happy.
Well, again, I think what's unique about this situation, this is her whole front yard.
It is unique.
All right, so we'll take a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we correct this, recurb the front of Miss Robinson's home at the Talisman Street.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, okay.
Thank you.
Get to
Ms.
that
Robinson,
quick
we'll
as
get
po-
with you sometime, Ms. England, we'll get with you to see when we can schedule our street and drainage crew. We need to get out of this kind of storm debris pickup, so it'll be maybe a couple of weeks before we can really see what we can do and schedule. But we do want to get it done before the cold weather gets there, so.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very
Right.
much, y'all.
Thank
I also want to say that because the road is a through street, now that we've got the, I don't even know, like where you can go and get your WIC and get your car tags and stuff, we have that placed right
On
around the
Peach?
corner. A lot of big, heavy trucks were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I don't know if that
County trucks.
does anything to the road, but I do know that road really does hold water.
Okay.
And we've been very blessed, my house isn't flooded, somehow it drains off, but it does hold water. And thank y'all for your time, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move to item D, was to discuss and consider allowing early morning concrete pours beginning at 4 a.m. every Tuesday and Friday from October 19, 2021 until January 14, 2022 at the Villas of Lake Jackson located on Plantation Drive. David?
Do we have anybody from Rise Construction here to speak on this matter? I don't think so. So this is a request from the contractor to allow for early morning pours to accommodate their concrete schedule. This project is alive and moving forward. The request is to start pouring at 4 o'clock in the morning and proceed, in some cases, up to 40 trucks per pour. They're trying to obviously beat weather. They're trying to get concrete when they can, according to other construction projects and their schedules. I was hoping that somebody would be here to speak on the matter because I'm sure that council might have some concerns in regards to noise and mitigation from the neighborhoods. Unfortunately, I do not
David,
see representative.
did we ask them to be here?
Yes, sir, we did.
I'm here as one of the neighborhood people, so.
Okay.
Is this the property that we kept asking about that they?
This is the
sold?
apartment complex directly behind the Buc-ee's,
Okay.
between
When are
the
they gonna
Buc-ee's
do
on
something?
Plantation
Yeah.
and
They-
Walnut
They
Street.
stopped doing the work for a while and wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, they had a pause in their schedule, but they are actively moving forward. They have had 2 concrete pours of buildings, but those have been done after 7 o'clock in the morning.
That
Okay.
apartment complex, a couple of years behind the villas, behind Mayor's house right there.
Yes,
They
sir.
had early pours also at one time, didn't they?
I don't recall, Mr. Buell, but I could go back in the record and find out. But it's not an uncommon request, but this definitely is sensitive because of the proximity to residential homes. I mean, it is very close to a neighborhood. It's very close to several apartment
Plus,
complexes.
they tore down all the buffer beforehand, so that buffer is gone too, so.
Yeah, and that's a separate issue.
So we sent out communications, so what kind of response did we get? Do you have that information, or?
We did send out communications to the neighboring properties. We asked them to contact Miss Acuna, and I do not know what her replies were.
received 2 totally against the boards. They were not
Did we
happy with
receive
it.
any today?
Not that I'm aware of.
So the only 2 that we have is in the packet, and then I guess
And
everybody who's
then
here.
some citizens here.
Okay.
What's the reasoning behind it? They got a lot to pour and they want to start early where they can get a whole lot poured there? Or it's cooler, they think it's gonna be cooler? What is their reasoning for wanting to?
Well, again, I think that they would be much better able to answer that question, but
They didn't
from
talk
what
to
I
you before?
from what I know about concrete, temperature does impact the drying time of concrete, and when you have large pours, the earlier you can do it, the less issues you have with the temperature of concrete. They're also hoping that they can, by stacking early in the morning, they can accommodate Dow traffic and other people trying to get to and from their places of employment.
The challenge that you have with concrete is there's only so much they mix a day. And so if you're the first one in line, you're the first one that gets out. And so I'm sure that's part of what their reasoning is on it. I think they did give us some feedback saying, what was it, about the 5 weeks or whatever, I don't know what the thing was, but they were giving some reasoning for why their request was, but,
How long have they been working on that project?
Not very long.
Well,
No, let me rephrase
how many
that
days they've been
question.
working?
Not how many days have they been working, how long has this project been ongoing?
They originally came during the fall of last year to ask for permission to clear the land before permits were even issued. Then they did clear. There was a delay between the time that they cleared and the time that permits were issued. And then, of course, they had time to stage the project to get all their contractors and equipment in before they even started moving dirt. And it just seemed like it was dragging on and on and on. And then there was a complete and total stop in the project. How long that stop was, I do not recall, but it was considerable enough that residents and staff started wondering, has this thing died? We started seeing a person on site after a while, and one person turned into 2, which turned into a team, and then work started progressing again. But we did do inspections twice last week for concrete pours. They poured the clubhouse and they poured one other building.
and what we don't know is that if the work stoppage was 5 weeks or months ago or whatever, is we don't know if at that time they would have requested an early pour or not. The assumption is that they may be requesting the early pour because they're under a time constraint, that since they're finally deciding to start moving forward with this, that they're trying to get the project finished. But we don't have anybody here from representatives to be able to explain, again, their reasoning for requesting this early, which would be an inconvenience for the residents from what we're hearing from.
David, I thought there was a letter in the packet from the contractor in which it stated that if it wasn't approved, it would delay them 5 weeks.
5 weeks. That's what I read somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and
Yes, sir.
I presume that the inconvenience comes in the form of noise. Is that
To the
the
residents?
problem? Right.
Noise and light, yes. And
Light,
there are things
okay.
they could do to help mitigate that noise, but they're not going to be able to keep all noise from happening. And as they move further back towards the fence line, obviously the residents would be further impacted. In which case, their request didn't indicate any alternative plans as they moved back towards that fence line. It was just a blanket 4
Well,
o'clock.
In the past, when we've had these, we've asked them, is one of the noise, not only is the truck noise, but it's the backup for all
The
the
beeping.
equipment, the beeping and stuff.
Constant.
By OSHA, they have to keep that, they
Sure.
can't turn that off, so that noise is going to be there. Every time they back it up, they're gonna have the beeping sound and stuff.
And
We
how
do
many
have a
trucks is
resident here, we'll let them speak here.
How many trucks you said there?
They could have as many as 40, or perhaps even more, but 40 was the
Per-
number
per
that
morning.
the contractor put out, and that would be a typical pour.
40?
40 trucks.
Every day?
Plus
Yeah.
plus a concrete pumper. Each time
Right,
they
but
pour,
they're only
yes.
requesting the early pours on Mondays and Fridays, correct?
Tuesdays and
Or
Fridays.
Tuesdays and
Yes,
So
Yes.
twice a week.
Right.
yes.
Okay, we can have the resident, and, sorry, name and address.
Charlene Weaver, 619 Walnut Street. I actually sent y'all some information. I know in the letter we received on our door, their delays were due to water delays. So really,
Rain
I
delay,
kind of
yeah.
provided with y'all NOAA's precipitation by day for all of 2021. That's not an accurate assessment. They definitely could have been working for the past 5 weeks, barring Nicholas, to get this done. So them being delayed by 5 weeks by not having a 4 a.m. pour doesn't constitute a problem on my part. They had their delays. I'm sure they took a delay because costs went up. I really, truly, the way I think on this is that poor planning and execution on the part of Rise Residential in no way constitutes some kind of emergency that will require city ordinances to be violated and cause disruption to the lives of the residents of Walnut Street. So we've already had this disruption, working from home, COVID. We can definitely hear the dump trucks banging. My dogs are barking. So this starting at 4 a.m. is just actually pretty ludicrous. It's an obscene request on their part since they have not been out there for months. I know no one can state how long they haven't been out there, but as a resident, I can tell you it's been months. So rain delays, weather delays, that's not an excuse if that's what they're trying to use. So they can delay their project by 5 weeks because they haven't been on there for many, many more than 5 weeks this year. So,
Okay, thank you.
but thank you.
Appreciate the feedback. Any other comments from the audience before we move forward? Okay, David, you can come back.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I just want to let you know, if we don't let them do this, it's gonna just drag this out, further out. So either you can suffer through, you've suffered through a lot already, can suffer through for a few more, weeks and get this done, than
I'd
to.
rather suffer during waking hours, or why can't they not pour at 4 a.m. and work till 8 p.m.? Normal hours that we are awake. And truly, the traffic problem,
Well, we
Oakland
need
is
her
now
to come
back in
up.
their building, which is right next door. So them being on premises between 4 to 7, when people are going to and from work, is gonna cause a backup on traffic.
So the concrete usually is in high demand. I'm not taking their side, I'm just trying to reasonably trying to think in their shoes, that if the concrete is hard to come by and this is the only time they can get the concrete, and by pushing that out, we're just gonna create more problems for everybody. I'm just,
No, truthfully,
Just a
my
second, I'm
view,
sorry.
and there's-
I'm gonna have to have you come back since we're having a conversation now, sorry.
I view it more as the cost of goods went up, so they took a break. It got expensive. Building equipment got expensive. Take a break and hope that the cost of goods go down. Now they waited so long to do that, they're having deadlines being called out. They have to get their work done. We didn't cause the cost of goods to go up. They decided to gamble, and now that their heels are to the fire, they're trying to make concessions, and those concessions will inconvenience me and everyone on that road. So I would rather them have working hours and delay that by 5 weeks. Again, that's not gonna bother me. It's gonna cause them cost overruns. But again, they could have avoided this by sticking to a schedule, and they gambled and they did not.
I understand that. I'm just,
So-
just sharing with you that
Yeah.
the 5-week window that you can help them they be out of your hair quicker.
Yeah,
That-
and I
that's all.
know, I also drive by multiple construction projects daily. They've had no problem pouring concrete this whole time.
I have a problem, the construction people aren't here. That's what I have a problem with.
Yep.
I just want to make sure,
Be it right or wrong, I have a problem with it.
I just want to make sure, because this is news to me I guess, because you mentioned pouring later,
Yeah, why can't they work till 7 or 8 in
Um,
the evening?
which seemed like a reasonable compromise, but you're telling me that's not possible because.
I wish they were here to,
That was
you
my
know,
point.
they-
It-
That's my point.
Is it, somebody said something about getting it in the morning.
They might not be able to get concrete that late.
What happens is that a contract, the people that mix the concrete, they only mix so much a day, and then they shut down. And so you have to get in line or get a commitment to be able to get concrete that day. And depends on what their relationship is with the mixer, is on, if they have, a standing spot to get it or not. We had the same issue whenever Dow was doing their billions of dollars worth of expansion, is that people just couldn't, we had projects were delayed all over, everywhere in the county because of all the concrete was going out to the bigger businesses, bigger operations. But again, we're just assuming that a lot of stuff, because they're not here to represent themselves. And, it would be better if they would be able to stand here and tell us why they're requesting this.
And I would
And-
also like to say, I've been asking for weeks. Sal, every meeting, no. I've asked him every week for several meetings now. I've gotten phone calls from residents who live back there. Why aren't they doing anything back there? And I kind of agree with with you, just in terms of, I doubt water is the only delay issue that
Right,
they've had, and none of that is the fault or the concern of the residents.
Plus, in the
that street.
mornings, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, in the morning, you hear these concrete trucks coming down 288. People in Timber Creek and Northwood hear them as well. That early in the morning, it's the noise travels.
Yep.
So
I know, but that's also a highway, not a residential area.
I feel for them also, because they will be hearing all these trucks coming in.
Yeah, you're saying it's not just these
Right,
folks that are gonna have to
right.
hear these dump trucks at 4 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Can we put this off and see if we can get in contact with them?
They're
Right.
planning
No.
to start this
No, I
tomorrow
mean,
morning
they-
at 4
They were
a.m.
invited to
don't-
be here.
No, they were invited to be here, and they
Okay.
had the option to be here, and
That's-
they made their decisions. So, is there any other discussion? If not, I need a motion on action on this item.
I move to deny the request
Second.
for pouring, early morning hour concrete pouring.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Second.
Any opposed? Rhonda's second.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't.
All right, so the request for early pour has been denied. All right, we'll move on to item E. Discuss and consider recommendation from Traffic Commission to add a crossing guard at the intersection. That's I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that.
Dahlia.
Dahlia.
Dahlia. And in Chusa at Best Brandon Elementary. Who, you want to
Does
start
you?
with staff? You want to start with?
Yeah, we can frame the issue. I don't know if the citizen who initially made the request is here.
She is. And I was at traffic. I liaised that board, so.
And probably, Mr. Barnes could probably speak to it better than I can. We did have a request for a crossing guard at Dahlia and Chusa. This is a little bit different, but it's within the purview of City Council and Traffic Commission to make a recommendation. Normally, what our policy is and what we have stayed with is 4-lane intersections where we cross, where they're really difficult, for children to cross. And the school district works with and provides a crossing guard, where the property is right abutting the school. This is a little bit different. It's outside of, it doesn't bound the school. And when we look at the numbers of children crossing, they're very similar to 2 other crossings that we have at Crocus and Jasmine, which cross, 4 lanes of traffic. So the Traffic Commission looked at it and saw that this was a busy intersection, and the crossing there. The one thing what we've talked about, the chief and I have talked about, is that if we did make this change, that I think the chief's recommendation, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, is that we need to also probably make it a 4-way stop. So that helps the crossing guard control traffic and make it safer. That probably will not be receptive from the neighborhood, but it does make it easier on the crossing guard.
And one other point with that, if you'll notice, like Mr. Mundo said, those are 2 lanes, one direction, then usually a center divider, 2 lanes the other way. So that's quite a wide stretch. But you do have some safety in the middle. This intersection we're talking about here, without any stop, there's a curve that comes into it. It's fairly wide, almost as wide as these with the center divider.
Can
But
you
there
bring
is
up
no
a map?
safety area in the middle, so it's quite a cross.
Yeah, I agree with you, because we need to provide safe and working environment for our crossing guards as well, so.
Yeah, and that got brought up, if I'm recalling correctly. And I think, it wasn't heavily discussed, but I think there was some high-level talk about, you know, we don't really want to change that much. We don't really want to inconvenience the people on Anchusa all day, every day, when we're talking about some very small periods of time. And I'm not saying that the 4-way stop is a bad idea, but you know, you do, like, this is a little cul-de-sac here, so there's not going to be a lot of people. You know, it really does get a lot heavier traveled this way than it does all the other time. And this is a little weird too, because it doesn't look like this anymore, as you all know. But it's interesting because, like Modesto said, this is off. So the school's property ends like right here. So it wouldn't be a school guard because it's a block or half a block away.
Is the school pushed back to that now?
Yeah, the school goes all the way to right here.
Yeah,
That's the
so-
school's line right there.
Yeah, so by agreement by us, the school district only provides, would only provide a crossing guard on, their property. And this
Right.
clearly falls outside of their scope.
And some of the discussion that was had at the meeting was, this curve is, and blind's probably not a perfect descriptor, but it's hard to see. There's big trees right here. It's raised up a little bit. This Bluebonnet Park, they call it. And so, it's a little S curve here, so you can't always, see that well. And then I have a little personal experience here because I drop my kids off. A lot of people, I think people that don't live down here, so people Northwood, people Timber Creek, whose kids go to Brandon, like mine. I come this way, I drive down here, and I go down. And so there's quite a bit of traffic down this street that maybe would have gone down this street historically because the school's closer here. And so when you come to here, and then it's right. And it's a little bit weird also because this is like 3 lanes wide, the driveway, right? So it's really wide. And because it's so wide, they don't let the kids walk across that driveway. You wouldn't want that. So the alternative is you got to like come down to Royal Oak and then over and then this way. And then to get up to here where the citizen who brought this up lives, you got to go back across. It's further exacerbated by the fact that the sidewalk is not complete. So you got to go all the way across and then across again because you can't, it's not as simple as just saying, bump right here and then bump all the way up. You got to do here, over, it's a lot of street crossing. And it's all sort of concentrated right there. And then this being, again, the focal point of all of that, I think this is kindergarten and first. It might be kinder first and second. I forget. But all the traffic for this whole place comes in and out of this one little area because then like third and fourth uses this entrance, right, and then wraps all the way around. So it's gotten a lot more traffic than it used to have, right, because the school's moved and the focus is now right here. And yet I'm trying to remember where they staged. There's a teacher here that helps kids get across Anchusa, and is it maybe one here, but not here anymore? I'm trying to remember, and I'm getting 2 things confused because there was something else on the traffic agenda for that week this time too.
Yeah, my suspicion is, once the school got rebuilt, this year it changed, and Matt's right. They cross over now because they don't want them walking across, these major driveways. Where in the years past, they could walk on that side and then only talk about crossing one road. Well, now you're crossing, you'd have to cross, this road and over here as you cross it, and then they're actually not crossing that way. They're crossing diagonally,
Yes,
which is
I was
even
gonna
more,
say that's kind
which
of
is
the
even more
issue.
dangerous.
Correct.
So is a four-way stop the only solution that would work right there?
It's not it doesn't have to be done, but like Chief, it does make it safer for the crossing guard because it's controlling the traffic. We have done it without it, but it's still, I mean, a crossing guard's job is difficult.
Well, they gotta step out there first, and then you gotta get that driver's attention. And one of the points you made, the traffic coming off Dahlia, they're worried about that traffic, because you really can't see the cars coming across Anchusa there till they come around that curve. So your attention is not necessarily who's crossing there, it is to see those vehicles coming. And so without a stop, we've had terrible accidents that way, when you're looking at a car rather than who's crossing the street.
Now, let me ask this question. This was brought up as well. It's always been, so I grew up right here, 56 Royal Oak, lived my whole life there until we moved away to college. And so the school zone has always stopped right here. And, you know, when the school's over here, that makes a lot of sense. But the school zone, I'd be willing to bet the school zone stop sign is before this driveway even, right? I'll look at it tomorrow morning. But there was talk about, you know, do you move that school zone back? Does that slow the cars down enough to not have the four-way stop there? Or does that provide any additional help for the person who's crossing guarding? I don't know.
It could slow it down, but the other thing that you have to remember is that we have a problem. First of all, we have a problem with getting crossing guards. And the other problem is filling it every day. And so there's times whenever, if we can't fill it, we try to fill it with an officer, and sometimes we can't do that. So if you have a four-way there, at least you have this four-way stop to help you, even if there are the odd occasions when we're not gonna have a crossing guard there because if nobody's available.
Yeah, and I'm not, and I don't think anybody on the traffic commission was in opposition to a four-way stop. They just, you know, they realize that's an increased burden on everyone. But I agree, but safer the better. And yeah, I mean, you don't need to be going that fast on and I think there is isn't there like a, hey, slow down to 20 because, you know, you don't want to go around the curve that fast, one of the yellow ones, the like suggestive ones, but it's not really speed limit. I don't know. But,
Oh, it has the buttons in the middle of the street for sure that keep them maintaining the same.
well, actually, I'm not even sure of that. I'm not sure this is painted. I don't think there's anything there. I've driven it a million times, so it just doesn't come back to me whether it does or doesn't. But I don't know. They talk, because I remember we talked about striping it, if that would help keep people slower or whatever. Certainly a four-way stop would slow people down. I don't think you're going to get a lot of pushback from the
Chief,
parents.
I mean, if you were able to put a crossing guard there, would you monitor it for a couple of months and get feedback from them and see what they need? And if they were saying they really did need a stop sign, would that?
I could even put an officer there really for a short amount of time just to get because they're used to stepping out there in traffic and getting them stopped. And I would recommend that if you would like us to, if you go forward with this. And then I'll have an officer man it at least for a while, a week or so, to give you some feedback. Are the cars going slow enough? Is it an issue? Are there any other concerns?
And I'll say one more thing that got brought up when we talked very quickly about the four-way stop was that a lot of the traffic should be going pretty slow anyways, because most of it's coming out of here anyway, so it doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity to ramp up and go fast. But, you know, there are big trees right here. It's hard to see. I mean, you really can't see very well. So that's just some of the talk that traffic. And traffic was, I think, universally in favor of doing something here. One question I had was, is this one crossing guard or two?
In a situation like this, I would believe it would be one.
It's a wide intersection, and like I said, there's no safety in the middle, which is different than some of our other ones.
Usually, like on Medical and Oak Drive South, we have one crossing guard, but that's a controlled intersection.
Lake and Oak Drive South, we have two. There's one at Medical.
Medical and Oak Drive South, right there in
There's
front
two
of
of them. Lake
Is there
Road.
two right
There's
there?
two,
There's
yeah.
two at
There's
South
two at
Oak.
Lake Road, but at Medical,
There's one.
there's one.
Yes, sir.
And stuff. So,
Oyster Creek
Yeah.
Drive
so we do have a mixture of
Jasmine, there's one.
Some have two. Some
One's
have one.
Oyster Creek
Jasmine
and Oak
and
Drive
Oyster
have.
Creek Drive. There's
Two.
one. Crocus and Yopon, which is
There's one.
major, is one. So there's, I don't know, I mean, I mean, again, we'd have to have feedback from the officer and the crossing guard once they did it for a while, if it took another one.
Well, if the chief is offering to place an officer there to collect data, that would be great. And
Yeah.
then we can bring it back to us and see if we want to make some adjustments to that. Can we have the resident, would you like to speak? Okay.
And I'll say too, while she's walking up, we certainly don't want to back up cars. There's, and I'm not sure this would be the case, but just something to keep in mind. Because I know when we do these things like this, we do traffic studies, and it's a whole big thing. But if a stop sign there would result in cars getting backed up to here, that would be bad because then they're going to stack up in here because they can't. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
just something else. We
Right.
got to have flow.
Agree.
But
Because
that's only just for a
Right.
short period of
But
time of the day.
And I'm gonna
Yeah, I
add
agree,
the,
I agree.
I'm gonna add the human part of that. So as an ear nurse, I've had my hands on, unsuccessfully, the auto-ped kid because of a situation like this. And anything we can do to not have that scenario, we need to do.
Okay. Name and address.
Evening. Sure. My name's Catherine Schmidt, and I live at 415 Petunia Street. I was here last week speaking on this, and on Petunia Street, the first 12 houses, there's 20 children, just in those alone. There's also retirees, and they range in age, but there's 14 that actually go to that elementary. Every morning, I walk my two that are there. And in the evening, there's videos that pop up, and I'm
I saw her
in
Wednesday.
those. I was caught off guard last week. But no, and we also did not know when the traffic lights go out on Yopon in 2004. Sometimes the stop sign, like the little stop signs, get put out. We didn't know if that was going to be an option because during normal hours, that is not a place that a four-way stop needs to be. But in the mornings, I've had people roll down their windows when my kids are at Bluebonnet Park and tell my kids that it's safe to cross, even though they can't see the oncoming traffic. So they have the blanket response, like, my parents are on the way because they're on their bikes and they're just a little bit ahead of us. But the afternoons, we meet them there, and then I cross the first group of children, but I don't want to be responsible for other people's children, and so that's why.
So you're saying the temporary little bitty stop sign, like when the power's out?
Yes,
Would
like if
suffice?
there was a crossing guard versus making it a permanent four-way
Yeah.
stop, but just have something during school zone
Problem,
times.
the problem I see with that, though, is that when the temporary signs are put out, because that's at an intersection, it's already a controlled intersection.
Okay.
And the control has changed.
Yeah.
The traffic
Right.
lights have gone away.
No,
They're
and-
trying to put those out. So if you start putting a temporary sign in an uncontrolled intersection, you're just asking yourself for an incident.
Something, yes.
An
no.
incident's gonna happen.
We just didn't know if, like, with a crossing guard, if that would be, so it's not a permanent thing or just a.
I think they want to inconvenience everyone the least, but I think they probably do need this level of protection.
Again, I think the chief came up with a good recommendation. That is, if he can afford to have an officer sit out there and help be a crossing guard for a couple of weeks, collect some data and give us a recommendation back on what their public safety, they should be able to come back to us and tell us what they really think should work.
No, we would love somebody to be present and just try it out for a period of time, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Catherine, and my last name is Schmidt.
Probably the most important question to ask is Ms. Shedd, if she's willing to apply for a crossing guard.
I do not want to be responsible for other
It pays pretty good.
I had my whole crew here the other night, so they know.
Okay.
But no, thank you.
All right, thank you. So
Maybe one of those retirees she mentioned who lives on Petunia would want to.
Sabrina, you have something?
Yeah, and of course, I was there with Matt on the traffic commission.
Correct.
And it didn't really come up there, and I was just thinking about it when they said, Matt saying that traffic now is coming out here and that it would be a short distance and then you'd have that stop sign, so it really wouldn't come up to speed. But my concern that we have to really look at, and it could be alleviated, I think, same with Chief, if the traffic engineer for the school put these signs and everything in place to alleviate traffic and get it cleared out and not have traffic on the streets as much as he possibly could. I'm a little concerned if you put that stop sign there, is it gonna back traffic up into
Right.
what I call the holding pattern on the school? Now, is that a reason not to? I'm not gonna say that either. I'm just saying, it just occurred to me, and I don't know if it's occurred to anybody else, that is something that would have to be kept in mind, just to make sure how it's really gonna affect the traffic for everybody getting out of that school, and staying off of Anchusa.
And Sabrina,
Right.
you know, because your crew put up the new school zone signs. Has it stayed there? Is that where the school zone ends?
I believe it is, it's right here before Dahlia, that it doesn't come any farther down here.
Okay.
Ms. Smith did bring that up when we were in the traffic commission, is, maybe we out to help slow down, and my suggestion then, when they were talking about it, that would is something that's gonna have to be a council approval, because it's an enforceable action. I don't necessarily have a thing against it. Maybe that does work, maybe that does slow them down enough, and then you don't have to make a four-way stop there. You can just maybe you had to put another sign, flashing light there to do something like that.
Chief, is that something you could also ask the officer to consider while they're out there to see if
Just slowing
if
down.
it was extended to, and that area was 20 miles an hour, would that help?
Yeah, because I'm thinking too, in my mind, if the school zone ends, I see a school zone end sign, I'm thinking, okay, it must be safe for me now to increase my
To increase
speed.
your speed.
That's certainly not true in this area because of, the kids crossing and stuff. So just pushing that out a little bit might keep my mind right that, kids are still milling around down here. I don't know, just a thought.
Maybe extending it further down, even be
Both
better.
directions.
Sure.
Both directions.
That may be the better solution versus the stop sign.
Chief, you got something to add?
Something to think about.
No,
Okay.
I think that was a good point as well. Before we go to the stop sign, which is the most restrictive, is slow them down a little bit before and then take a look at it and see what comes out. See if it's a problem or not.
So are we okay with going forward with the recommendation from the chief of letting him put an officer out there for a couple of weeks and give us feedback?
Yes.
Good
That next
idea.
council meeting?
Do you want to vote and recommend a crossing guard no matter, the feedback is more of just if there's any additional
Additional.
traffic control devices.
That's fine.
If, council would like us to put a, crossing guard out there, I would recommend that be recorded for the record.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'll make that motion to add a crossing guard to that location and to investigate additional crossing protections.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So we can have that on the agenda next
Yes.
meeting. Okay.
Chief, can I ask you a question? Do you know when you could maybe have someone out there for crossing?
Yes, I'm gonna try and get that started tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll try to get it. as
Yeah, I
soon-
mean, we
If
could
do it the rest
even
of
ask
this
the
week and
school.
Next week would be
We
good.
could ask Julie Evans if they have any input, because those teachers, there's teachers, 2 or 3 teachers out there all the time.
Yeah.
They
I
got a
just
better
know
sense.
sometimes we've had a struggle of
Yeah.
finding crossing guards.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's 10 spots, there's 16 crossing guards as there is. We try to keep 5 alternates, but as it is, they miss quite often, and then we have to call in an alternate, and if you can't find anybody, then we pull someone off patrol. But it's a challenge to keep that many crossing
Yeah.
guards.
And who deals with that on a daily? You do.
PD.
Have you ever thought about, hopefully it's not
Sidebar.
too far off, we're still talking about crossing guards. I mean, it's one thing to sign up to be a crossing guard and have that commitment, but to be a fill-in, is there have you ever tried that, to just get a list of people that are willing to
We
do a
have-
onesie
we-
or twosie?
That's a five
Yeah, we do,
alternate.
we keep 5 alternates.
5 alternates.
Oh, no, I mean so are they, okay.
Oh,
All right.
we-
So if
we
I
do-
wanted to, I could be an alternate and
Yes, sir.
not have any commitment other than you could call me that day, just like a
Right.
substitute teacher.
Right, but in practice, what really happens is they do get called quite often.
No, I understand.
you just have to commit that you will not throw your stop sign at a car because some parents will frustrate you.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will. I mean, I use myself, I mean, anybody could put their name.
Because that's kind of
could
hard
be-
to stop officers from doing, let's not approach
Yeah, that's right. All right, thank you. We'll move on to item F, approve parade route for AP Boydell Elementary on Monday, November 8th, 2021, on nasturtium. Street and Ligustrum Street during the hours of 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Again, this is a parade for recognition of them receiving the Blue Ribbon School Award.
Milford, can you go to, I think it's page 61? Yeah, that'll show the parade route. It's a very short parade route. It's mostly on.
Nasturtium.
Yes, nasturtium, and then they take a quick jog on Ligustrum back into the parking lot.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval.
Okay.
I'll
have a
second.
motion- Have a motion and a second. Just a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Move to item G, is discuss and consider proposed public improvement district guidelines. Again, this is just looking at the guidelines, see if there's anything we want to add or take away or modify. Has anything been added? Let me start out with that.
No, again, Milford can speak to it better on, the next page shows actually, I think there's a hard copy in front of you, is just kind of the application. That's kind of stolen from the incentive guidelines that we have in general. There is another section that we're debating and putting there, which is much more intensive. But we were trying to give them a simplified version and then the kind of the criteria that they're being judged by. So it's not actually an application, but they can, submit their material knowing, actually what we're looking for and how we're judging them in that regard. So if we go back and look at the initial policy of 2008, that's, the application process is $7,500. It can be up to 75,000, depending on, if it was a major development. I wouldn't say this is a major development, but just paying for staff review time.
Right.
I'm sure that will get debated. I'd
course.
probably try to stay on the more affordable range on this type of development, but that's the way. Right now, it's between 7,500 and 75,000 on the application process.
So do you want any guidance from council on that, or do you want to have the flexibility? You can't blame it on us.
I was gonna my first reaction was, no, I didn't want any guidance, but I would like the flexibility.
Okay. That's good. I can live with that, personally.
And then we've given Mr. Applin an initial of the guidelines, so he knows what to be judged on, so he could at least start the process of implementing this. So as staff, if we feel if something's lacking, we'll ask for additional material, and then we'll submit it to council for council's consideration. But we'll try to do some legwork and help them through the process.
So this is the only thing that you added to the application form that we saw before?
It is, the initial guidelines in 2008 have additional things, and I think that we're gonna sit down with Sue tomorrow, and it just seems awfully cumbersome for this type of development. We're gonna see what we can call out, and kind of supplement our strike from, and say, out of these, 50 questions, we really think you ought to focus on these 25. And as they filter back to the criteria that council was really looking at.
So what do you want from us tonight?
Just blessing to move forward and be able to give the developer the opportunity to submit a proposal to you for consideration.
2 quick questions
Okay.
just on these. Is there anywhere on here, and I may just be not looking at it, to show where the applicant has looked at, like the master plan, the master park plan, and how what they're doing fits into this? And then also, if a PID is approved, what benefit do they bring to the table? And to use Sue's words, what do they provide that the market cannot bear?
There's not in the application, but there is in the guidelines, and that's what we're really, we're pressing probably more on the guidelines and giving us, here's the, here's the grade book that you're gonna be graded on. And it is like, how does it relate back to the master plan?
Okay.
And stuff. And it's not a specific question on the application. Maybe it should be, and that's how we should flesh it out in the future. But right now, we're just giving them kind of how we're grading, them, and they can expand upon that.
And then go down one more.
So the guidelines, though, that
There's a
we've,
section, sorry.
so those guidelines, the Reg, in this case, would be going through these guidelines and answering these questions. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that would get to your
Okay.
questions.
Up
So
one
they
more?
get both
Yeah.
of these. They get
Yes,
both the
yes.
guidelines and the application. Okay.
Right. So this is how and then 2 is the plan compliance, and like, for instance, like you said, Parks and Open Space Master Plan, and then you're
Gotcha.
expecting a narrative on how they comply with
Yes.
that and all that,
Yes.
and then, okay,
Okay.
yeah.
But this is more focused in the, so I think maybe perhaps what she's asking, we should add it to this guideline, because it is important for us to have that information.
This right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to give them this with this application.
Okay.
It was gonna be attached on there. We just stole this from the initial 2008 and added it to these other, this other latest development of guidelines saying you need to look at both and complete it. But it didn't come out more as in a question format. It just said, here's all the material that we are looking at, and you need to include it.
And then we'll see the answers,
Yes.
these narratives will come to us as
Yes.
part of the review process,
Yes.
because
We'll
every
see
one
the
of these has
answers
to
to the
come to
guideline.
council.
Yes.
Correct,
And we'll see the answers to the application.
right.
Okay.
So it's like more, it's like a 10,000-mile view versus the detailed view. Or
Gotcha.
1,000.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha, that makes
Okay.
sense.
Felt okay if we're pressing forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything else you need from us for this?
No. Okay, we'll get this out to him and help him along the way.
You need a motion for that, or just?
No,
We're just giving guidance.
We're gonna press forward.
Okay. Item H, authorize city manager to execute contract with New Gen Strategies for recycling program evaluation in the amount not to exceed $34,500.
We had been discussing with New Gen Strategies, we really talked to them this summer about looking at our cost recovery for sanitation as a whole. And also, they were looking at seeing if they could help us with looking at better ways to pick up heavy trash. But since this predicament that we find ourselves in for recycling has hit the forefront, I'm asking for the ability to kind of change the focus, because they also do this, and they've helped citizens look at, is there a better way to look at recycling? Are there other alternatives on just the method of pickup, or also building transfer stations, which I think that's what we're leaning towards. But we really just don't have the experience in this, and this, I think, will help us get to that answer, the appropriate answer faster. I would love to still have them look at heavy trash, because I think that's really where our is our trouble. But with this, and then the possibility of hiring an engineer to do a design of a transfer station, I think will tap the 50,000. I'd like to stay within the 50,000. So probably if we are impressed and they're able to help us, next year we'll have them come in and look at heavy trash and see if they can help us do the same thing. But right now we need to focus on recycling.
So since maybe recycling, the other sister cities around the area are having the same issues, so will they be participating in this as well, or that would be a completely different?
We're having constant discussions with Clute, because it's the only city that's having the same problem. The other two cities they're beholden to, or I guess they have to do what Waste Connection says, unless they go out and find a different provider. And Waste Connection says they're not going to pick it up for them, where Clute and us pick it up ourselves. So yes, Clute is looking at a solution. So we'll probably, if we come up with ours, we'll probably either build something together and work together, and will it be on our site, or will they have a site? They were not open to hiring someone. They just didn't have the ability to pay someone. But I think it's, we'll look at a solution that it can also work with them, that we may have a partner, in of maintaining something and operating something. But, our challenge, to New Gen Strategies is we're still looking for the most simplest solution as possible without a lot of added operational costs. And hopefully from their expertise, they can get us to that answer quicker.
Yeah, originally, when Modesto and I talked about, again, this whole recycle program and issues that we're having is that at first, we had this option of going with New Gen to help them with this. And at first we thought we might be able to, within our own resources, be able to put the time in to be able to do the evaluations and move this forward. And we just haven't been able to do that because of all the other things that we have to do day in and day out. So that's why we're backing up and going with an external company like this to help us through this. And again,
Yeah.
they bring expertise to the table.
Yeah, if we had 2 years to solve this problem, I think we could probably do it ourselves, but with the time clock ticking, it's we're starting to feel the pressure.
Is there any other questions on this? Sabrina, you have anything to add or comment? All right, I'll take a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move for approval as presented.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and we'll have a second. Any other questions or discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes, approved, so
Thank you.
we move this forward. All right, so we're gonna move on to authorize city manager to execute a contract with Progress Commercial Aquatics through Texas Buy Board Contract 61320 for replacement of UV disinfectant units at the leisure and lap pools at the rec center, not to exceed the amount of $80,000.
This is a budgeted item through the CIP projects, through the half-cent sales tax fund, so,
So it's budgeted.
yes.
And this is to the budget amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you introduce yourself
I'm
to
sorry.
council?
I'm Robin Hayden. I'm the Assistant Director for the Parks and Recreation, so. Jeremy's-
Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You will be seeing Ms. Hayden a little more often.
more often now.
Yeah.
Since
The short timer is,
since our short timer is.
Yeah. since
Can't
he's
even be
leaving.
bothered
Time.
to present the
I
last,
wasn't here last.
wow.
Going to California.
California.
Hit a road.
Tell him, Buster.
That's crazy.
people are moving from California to here.
That's right.
So you're going the wrong
I
direction.
know. Yeah. I got a good deal on a moving truck. They're all coming this way, so.
And you taking it back.
That's right. Yeah, I'm taking it back empty. I'm sorry. I just realized, and hopefully this is okay, but
Uh-oh.
there's a typo. It's Progressive Commercial Aquatics, not
Progress.
Progress.
Okay, progressive.
Good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I don't have my glasses on it.
What are you doing out there? I wasn't here last time. What are you going out there?
He got a better job.
You're going?
I'm going.
He's going.
I'm going.
Jeremy's
She's taking over for me.
She's staying.
I'm stuck, see, I'm going.
Jeremy, you've been in the sun too long.
He thinks he won't melt in
Yeah.
California.
That's
so,
right.
you know, melt in here.
No mosquitoes, I guess.
That's right.
I don't know about that.
And so the UV disinfectant is required by state law to have on. a
Yes, yes, it is.
All right.
We need a second, or we got a first, or we?
Well, I haven't had a first yet, so I'm looking for a motion. If there, unless
for
there's some
approval.
discussion. Okay, we have a motion. Looking
I'll
for-
second it.
I have a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay,
This is my last item.
this is yours. All right, this is your last one. Okay.
Denied.
Discuss and approve Kemper Sport operating contract update to increase monthly golf course management fee from $7,800 to $8,200.
Okay, in the agreement that we have with Kemper, they adjust their management fees based on the whole CPI for the previous 12 months as of May, and that was 5%. They were late getting it to us. He sent the request just this past month, but
we did budget 2.5 as a placeholder as a raise, so we're just 2.5 short of what it actually is. So that would raise their monthly fee from about roughly $7,800 to about $8,200 a month, which is about $2,300 for the whole year, more than what we had anticipated. So
contractually, they missed the deadline for reporting us, requesting the increase, right?
well,
And this
kind
increase
of.
is 2.5% over what was budgeted.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
But
think.
it's not a
The contract doesn't
no.
have a date for them to get it in to us.
No.
It's just,
It's our
nice
budgeting
to-
cycle.
It's nice for them to, tell us, hey, we've noticed what it is, can you budget
Mm-hmm.
for it? We didn't go back and look, and stuff, and we just budgeted, a 2.5%, as the cost of inflation for us, but in reality, it was 5%, so they can ask for 5%.
Mm-hmm.
This is covered through half cent or general
Yes,
fund? This
it's
is
half
half cent.
cent.
Okay.
Do we require a budget amendment in the whole?
No.
No.
And they are exceeding their revenue projections,
Right.
so.
They're doing extremely well, aren't they?
Yes.
They're doing well right now.
Good.
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully no more rain. All right, any other questions on this one? I need a motion on the item.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other comments, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you. All right,
Is that your last time? This is your last meeting?
It is.
Thanks, Jeremy.
thank you very much. No cake or nothing?
When you leave? When your last day?
Next Wednesday.
All right.
A week from this Wednesday?
Are y'all doing anything?
I don't know, is Recreation doing anything?
Yes, something very small. Doesn't like things like that, so
Yeah, what
Well, you can have a party, he doesn't have to come.
He's leaving. Who cares what he likes?
Yeah, hell with
Well,
him.
let us know. Okay, 28th, all right, all right. All right, send us out something, please, thank you. You've been a great value to the city.
That's right.
You brought some really great programs. I know we haven't given you a lot of money to do great things, but understand you're going to someplace that will have a lot of money to let you do great things, so. So anyway,
That's what they told him in the interview.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But you did great things with what little bit of money we gave you, so appreciate it. All right, we're gonna go on to item K, is discuss and consider amending contract with T-Mobile to install 3 antenna mounts, and 1 equipment cabinet. A water tower at Oak Drive. Who wants to talk about that? Modesto or?
No,
you got
I'm gonna
Stafford?
actually let Ms. Russell talk about this. She's,
Oh, Miss Contract Lady. Yeah.
This water tower antenna lady.
Ooh. You can,
So, they're actually removing all this Sprint, Clearwire went to Sprint and now it's T-Mobile. They're removing all of the old stuff and putting new stuff on, and in addition, they went 3 new antennas. So you need the antenna mounts and the antenna, and then they're replacing some boxes, but they're also putting a new box on. So it's an amendment to the contract, and it's also normally, we also increase their rent because they're taking up more space. And there is no industry standard on how much the rent goes up or down. It seems to be as much as they can get is what they want, or as much as we can get. They don't want any, they want it to be free.
of course.
But it's a city facility, you're not allowed to give things away for free unless they pass the public works test.
How much they paying us?
Okay, so right now, look over here, it's easier. What did we, I don't know exactly because it goes up 3% every year. But they started out at $1,400 a month in 2009. We increased that, when someone, Sprint or Clearwire, put up another antenna and some radios by $300, and then just a couple of years ago, Sprint added, 3 cabinets, 3 antenna, and 9 radios for $500. So, yeah, I meant to ask how much we pay them yearly. But
So-
that's how much.
We pay them or they pay us?
no, they pay us.
It's
They
a
pay
lot,
us.
because normally people don't.
Yeah. At least we're,
It's a lot of it.
Yeah, so it's in our summary.
Yeah, the only request I have that they don't block the City of Lake Jackson logo and stuff, because it's, you know, we have this nice painted stuff and then they put antennas in front of
There's
it.
like a catwalk or something that goes around, and so everything goes right there. If you go one more down, Milford, it all goes on that belt. It looks like a belt
Right.
to me. So they're gonna go on that belt.
Yeah, but maybe they can do it on the side instead of the front of the logo.
Oh, well, they're
I
on
see.
3 different sides. It's 3 antennas, and they're going on 3 different sides.
I assume it's got to
Other
be in a
stuff
particular
out there.
place. It's got to point a
But
particular
if they can avoid,
direction.
that'd be great, because it'll, I mean,
I will point it out to them, do not block the logo.
They can always change the height of their antenna. It could be lowered down or whatever. Because what they do is they put a mount bar down, mount bar, and then they mount the antenna onto the bar, and it's adjustable. And to some extent, from what I've seen and been told. But so are you asking for what we want to put, if we want to put an increase in, or do we, and if we do, by how much, or what are you
Yes,
asking?
you want to amend the contract, and what should the increase be? It's, I mean, the antennas are going on the mounts, it's not like, so, and then the one additional cabinet underneath, so.
Well, you got all the money, how much you recommend?
I think $100 an antenna is a good,
What about a cabinet?
oh, you could throw the cabinet in free.
Yeah, because what they did, well, if you use 2019, was they added 3 cabinets, which here they only want to add 1 cabinet, but they're adding 3 antennas and 3 mounts, okay? And that was $500 that we increased the rent. So between $100 and $500, what do y'all want to say?
350?
Works for
400?
me.
For the
So
whole
that'd
for the whole kit and caboodle.
no.
That's an increase for the increased, that's increased
Yeah,
equipment
It
they're
used to be
putting on.
1,400 before, we don't want to go down.
That's increasing what we already getting.
What we're already getting, so this would be in addition to what we're already getting. So they're putting more equipment on, so what do we want to charge them extra for
Yeah.
hanging more equipment? Again, you know, space is limited up there, and so there should be value tied to it.
Right,
And so,
round it off to 400.
okay, so I have a motion for 400?
I'll second.
We have a motion?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion for 400, we have a second for 400. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, done. All right, item L, discuss and consider resolution appointing representatives, alternatives to Houston Galveston Area Council Board of Directors, 2022. I'm currently primary, and Buster is secondary. Buster terms out in May, so he'll be going to do bigger and greater things. I asked him, and it doesn't matter to you. I mean, I don't have a problem with you staying till May, if that's okay with
That's
you.
fine with me.
Okay, if that's okay with you, we'll do it in May, and then we'll do it again after elections. We may have somebody that comes on council that just hot and heavy wants to go do it, I don't know. I know Vinay offered to do it if nobody else would do it. So again, I need a motion from you
Yeah,
guys.
that's nice. Council lady next to me. She
Move for
probably will.
approval.
Okay, so we're gonna go with, we got a motion for me for primary and Buster as secondary. I have a motion, I need a second.
Second,
All right, everybody
all
second,
second.
so we all
We all
voted.
second.
second, third, and
All
fourth.
right, so I'll do Mr. Broadus as second.
All right.
And we'll do Vinay as, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we get all those free lunches now. Yeah, right. Gas bill. All right, so move on to item M, discuss and consider an ordinance amending Chapter 110 zoning to add a requirement that a sign notifying the public of a request to rezone must be posted on or near the property to be rezoned. First reading.
This is an ordinance amending Chapter 110 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lake Jackson, Texas, to require signs be posted on or near property that is the subject of a proposed zoning change, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith shall be repealed to the extent of the conflict only, and providing a savings clause.
I need a motion for this.
I move for approval, but I do have a question.
Okay, well, let's get us a
Okay,
motion and a
motion.
second, then we'll go to questions.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All right, now we go to questions.
So the question would be, this is posted on or near the property. So if you put it near the property and the sign says for this property, so there'd be a conflict. So I just,
Well, because just in case the property doesn't have street frontage, then they're gonna put it in our right of way close to it, and they're gonna have, and the city's providing the sign, so there'll be some sort of notation or something with the address or an error or something telling them where the property is.
okay. I just want to make sure, because I just don't want it to be in conflict. with
So
each
long
other.
as it don't say this way or that way.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway.
Anyway,
His way,
his way.
my way.
All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, item N, city manager update. Hurricane Nicholas update. Where do you start?
We have picked up a little over 70,000 of brush. I didn't look at the number today. Yesterday was Carter Gulf's last day. They've picked up about all they picked up all that they can pick up. The material that we have now is debris or leaves that are in black bags, or debris that's underneath a tree that they can't get the big equipment in, so it's fallen onto us. Staff did have a meeting today with a contractor, and they've had a couple of phone calls with other contractors to see if they can get a quote in to help us. Very similar to what we did in Ike, where they pick up the trash the same way we do, you know, to put it in flatbeds and stuff, and they can pick up the smaller stuff because they're using similar equipment and they're not using the big grapple. So hopefully we'll get those prices in tomorrow and start them out as quick as possible, because we'd like to get this all finished in the next couple of weeks and just get back to normal. Yeah, the rest of the debris now is either small or it's, you know, again, if it's in black bags, you know, black bags we can't take to the debris site. You can't grind it and you can't burn it. So it then goes to the it has to go to the landfill, which really just gets picked up kind of a separate operation. We've discussed it. We're probably at this stage just picking everything up and putting it all in one truck and taking it, you know, to the landfill.
Is there somewhere in writing that our citizens can see what you just said?
We have,
Limbs and stuff can't be in the black bags.
I'm sorry, Mr. Buell, can you say that again?
Is there somewhere in the system that tells people that in writing where they can't put their limbs and stuff in black bags, that it has to be?
You can put your limb in a black bag. That's not the thing. As far as picking it up, like if you put
Let
your
me
limbs in a
rephrase
black
your-
bag, I can't take it to the mulch yard because I have to open that bag and empty it then.
Let me rephrase. Is there somewhere stating that if you put it in a black bag, it will not be picked up?
I don't think so. I don't think I have that states that explicitly.
Yeah, and that's the mistake we made. We did
Can we
not
do that?
tell people, you know, not to do it. It's just, it's been problematic in that it's delayed us because our contractor couldn't pick it up that way.
You
so-
do have an ordinance that says limbs should be no longer than 4 foot, and they should be tied together so that I can, you know, pick them and grab them. But you don't have anything, I believe, that says limbs on bags or anything like that.
See, I got numerous calls about, how come they're not picking up? So people didn't know that if they do that, they might not put it in the bags. That's what I'm getting at.
That's correct.
They'll
It's a
have to
learning
put
experience.
some of
Yeah.
that, will have to go into a black bag, like leaves and the really small stuff, because you've seen the grabbers that I pick up with. That's just gonna fall right
Yeah.
through there. The only thing I can do at that point in time is to sit there with a pitchfork and try to get it open.
Yeah,
It's not, what I'm trying to say is, explain to the people, if they put the stuff in black bags, it will not be picked up. But I got numerous calls, they picked up the limbs and things, how come they didn't get my black bags?
Yeah.
That's, you know, that,
Two
they,
different companies picking it up.
well,
Yeah, we
No,
can.
the
we
thing is
can-
that black bags are considered heavy trash,
They-
and limbs are considered debris, and they get picked up in a different way, like Mr. Buell is saying. Debris gets picked up because I take it to my mulch yard because I can dump it there. Heavy trash gets picked up into the heavy trash trucks, and it has to go out to the landfill. So and we did this before the hurricane came out, we said, we're not picking up heavy trash, and we've been telling people, but he is correct. We haven't, people get confused, I think, about what can constitute heavy trash. And they think that if they put these limbs in this bag, or they put these pine needles, or they put these leaves or anything, then they're going, you know, hey, that's a heavy trash bag. And it is a heavy trash bag, but it has to go to 2 different sites. And I pick up with 2 different trucks when I'm picking up.
The thing
So-
was, they put their limbs in their leaves. They could care less if it was heavy trash. They thought that it ought to be picked up.
Right.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
And so
every-
that's one of the things we've been looking at is doing a better
We'll
job
send-
of telling them
We'll
what
send
they
a
can.
message out tomorrow just to let them know where we are.
Basically, they're just trying to help the city work
Yeah.
about. putting
Everybody
it in
did everything
bags.
correctly. The
And,
only,
and that's a big help. I just need them to know that that's considered a heavy trash and versus a debris, and they are 2 separate trucks, which I do need to do a better job of alerting them and letting them know that.
Very well in picking up stuff.
Yeah.
But I got several calls about the.
Yes.
yeah, we'll correct that. Yeah, the only thing that we asked citizens to do when we got our messaging out was not to mix the black bags with the brush and stuff, because that runs the whole bottle. So we did send that message out, but we didn't tell anybody not to put out black bags. It's just that, you know, we're having to pick that up separately now. And that's what we're really focused on, you know, now is getting all of this remaining stuff out, the small piles and the black bags that are full of brush.
Yes.
And then some of the heavy trash. We have sent out a message to every home asking them not to put out heavy trash. That stuff, because that's not storm debris, so we can get caught up on this storm debris issue and stuff. So hopefully they've listened and, you know, are helping us in that occasion. And then once we get out of this 2-week period, I'm hoping we can, you know, open back up to picking up, you know, or asking citizens that it's okay to put out your heavy trash now. But we
Right.
just want to focus on, you know, what's on the ground right now and not exacerbate the problem.
Okay, let me ask you a question. And it goes back to some of the busters talking about the confusion that's out there, is right now we have city crews. Okay, they're, because of rotation, as of last week, they were moving to the north side, which is their normal routine for heavy trash. And we're talking about for the next 2 weeks, any city truck that's picking up is going to pick up, they're not going to be picking up all heavy trash. They're not going to be picking up sofas or whatever. They're going to be picking up black bags and small piles of storm debris. Is that correct?
We are actually picking up heavy trash. We have asked you not to put in any additional heavy trash, but because it has been out there,
Okay.
we are back on our schedule. We are picking up heavy trash. We are attempting to get contractors in, and we've met with one contractor. I've got a call in with another one waiting on the quote to come back. And they would be going on to south side, at which point they would be starting picking up everything just like we are. Are we mixing some of this stuff? Some of it will be mixed. But yes, that's what we're
We just
trying to
went
do
off the street,
because, you know, September 13th, that's quite a little time ago,
Yeah,
so.
we're at the stage now that it really makes no sense for us to separate it.
No, just take it all to
We're just
landfill.
trying to
Take it
get
to
it-
the
get it outta
landfill
here.
because even if we're picking up small things and, you know, we're still having to figure out, can we mulch it, grind it and leave it at the
Right.
landfill, or we're gonna have to burn it and stuff. And so right now it's like, we might as well just pick it all up together.
And again, where you're gonna have an issue with still picking up sofas is we're asking people not to put sofas out.
Right.
And there's somebody who said, well, they picked one up, so I'm gonna put mine out. And so then.
And that's what happens.
And so all we can just keep on reinforcing to people and say, don't put any more of that out, because we're focusing on what's already out there.
Yes.
And that includes small, it's any tree brush now and any black bags, regardless if it has leaves in it or
Yeah.
paint cans.
And we'll keep on hammering that message across, that we're asking him not to put it out, but, you know, we're picking up everything that is currently out there.
And the other thing that's bad is we had the conversation with somebody the other day, you and I, was the south side of town is probably looking the worst because we missed almost 5 weeks
Yeah,
of heavy trash pickup.
yes, because.
Because it was a long week.
It was a long month, so
And
there was
people put stuff out.
There was a fifth.
Yeah.
And so and people get confused, and when they put it on the 5th, they're automatically 2 weeks
2 weeks up.
behind
Right.
when they do that.
Right.
And then the storm happened, and so that's pushed them 5 weeks
Okay.
for some of the heavy
Well,
trash.
that new heavy dumpsters there by the center that's being widely used.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
People dropping it off.
We, on
Yeah, like-
Friday, emptied 6 containers.
I
Yeah,
believe Clarkson,
6
yeah,
roll-off.
6
So it is getting very, it's very
Every time
popular.
I go by there, it's somebody, that's good, that's good.
One of the things we also need to educate folks is what constitutes heavy trash. So people are piling up, just regular household garbage on the sidewalks and
There is,
Instead of bagging
there
it
is a description of heavy trash in the ordinances, what we consider heavy trash and what we consider debris. And I believe I got one of these, when you get a water account at Lake Jackson, you get your little Welcome to Lake Jackson book. There's also a section in there that discusses, what heavy trash is and what we consider debris. And what weeks and all the rest of that you should do, whether people read it or not.
Right.
Right.
Judging by what I see, no, but there is something in that book, and the ordinance does define what heavy trash and debris are.
Okay.
And the next item that we have on just, storm-related is that we are working at looking at, we're pitching, I guess three options to TCEQ. We've met with Tatum, their debris consultant, but the debris consultant can only give us advice. TCEQ makes the decision. The first one, again, is asking if we can mulch and spread on the old landfill. That is what we have done in the last couple of storms, but what was brought up to my attention in those those storms were so widespread that the governor had given or taken a lot of the rule regulations off or suspended them. So TCQ had much broader authority than they do now. So they look at it a lot stricter. And so we may not be able to get that approval. We are also asking TCQ for considering of burning at the mulch site and seeing if that is an option that they will approve.
You said they denied it before. What's the reason for denying it, putting?
They've approved it before.
Oh, approved it before?
Initially, right now, they are saying they will not. But what we're hopeful is that
Did they give you a reason why they're denying it?
it's an old landfill and it's prohibited by the rules to grind.
Put leaves on it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't put any kind of weight or any kind of other materials on top of an old landfill for their prescribed amount of time, and we're not quite out of that time yet,
Got another 3 years or something.
depending on if we're the 30 or the 40, so.
So
And I think
probably
we're
40.
the 30. Well,
Well,
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're
I think
30.
we're 30, so.
So it
Cross
currently,
your fingers.
we, by the rules that they point to, that we can't. Just the previous two storms, the governor had waived all those rules, so they had a little more flexibility. But we're asking for burning. What we're hoping is that maybe there's some sense looking at, when you look at both requests, spreading or burning. Spreading seems just to be more reasonable, more environmental friendly, so we're asking that. Our third option outside of burning in that area or clearing, which would be nice to get something approved, because then that would be a long-term solution. We're gonna have another storm, and we're gonna have more storm debris. Outside of that, there is property that Freeport has used, that they have burned in open pasture land that, we can always ask to do that. But then we're picking up and we're grinding the material and shipping it and paying for it to be burned somewhere
it's
else.
the most expensive way to do it.
It is the most expensive. So again, we're not out of the woods yet.
Out of the brush yet.
So that's where we are.
And just in case if people ask, I may have said this already before, is that people continue to ask is, why can't we use this mulch material for dunes? And the answer is restoring the dunes. The answer is that we did ask the question, we did ask commissioners on it, and at first they were having complications with even getting approval for their storm debris. They had to go to the GLO, and the GLO originally wasn't going to give them a approval to do it because they said it wasn't declared as a disaster. And they said, well, it was. The governor declared it as a disaster, and the GLO said what the feds didn't. So it was a he said, she said thing. So they finally got a permit, but they only could get a permit large enough to handle most of the county's material. Not even all the county's material is going to be able to be used to build dunes. Doesn't make any sense, but that's above our pay grade. The county burned the rest of their material, or is going to burn the rest of the material. All the other cities are burning their material, as far as we know. So it's just, hopefully we can grind it and spread it, and that would be the best thing. And, but that's just FYI, because people will continue to ask, why can't we use it for some good use? And we can't store it. We've proven that we can't store mulch, because big mountains of mulch heat up because it decomposes and it catches on fire. And we had a few fire, and those are messy fires, because it's, anyway. So,
So,
is there anything else?
hopefully we'll have a good update with positive news at the next council meeting of what we're going to be able to do with all the storm debris. But we'll have hopefully we'll have everything picked up by then.
Yep.
You got a question?
No. And again, Sabrina, pass along, we really appreciate all the work that people in the field are doing. They're working like crazy and stuff, so, and they get blamed for some things that's not their fault.
I will.
And we try to address as much as we can. Okay. Construction updates.
Let me give you an update on the constructions that are really going in the field there. The ramps now have moved over into the lake road portion of it. They finished up on the Yopon side of things. So they've already gone in there, and they're about ready to finish on that Lake Road area, whatever contract we had with them. The concrete replacement or repairs have also, they're moving into, and we just are putting out a notice to move into the OCD. It's going to become a traffic problem, but it needs to be done. That is at the just beyond, the Casa del Lago apartments in that general vicinity of OCD. And that will be going out and probably starting Wednesday. But the notices are going down.
You're saying panel replacement?
The panel replacement,
Right
the
there where
pavement
it's,
repairs.
From the old Food King?
Yes,
Yeah,
just
very
about
close.
ready. Not quite at the Food King, but it's
In that area,
in that general area, correct.
Stay away from it.
Yes. We have also now on the projects that we are letting out, we are having tomorrow, Wednesday, we will be opening bids on the roof for the service for the rec center. We have also are going to have a meeting tomorrow on Wednesday concerning a pre-construction meeting on the Azalea Street repair reconstruction. And we are also taking, we have just finished the blue wall repair that got hit. It finished and it was completed. And we also just finished the a railing at the Winding Way, excuse me, and Circle Way. That was also.
Those are all done at our cost, not at some drunk driver cost.
We'll file with the insurance, but usually our experience is it takes a couple of years if you get anything.
Correct. And we have also now, we are also embarking on another repair, which is at the fire station number 2.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, we have a payment failure primarily because there is a sanitary sewer failure also. And the payment repair is not quite as costly. We just found out today that the sewer repair could be up to about $88,000.
So we'll be bringing that probably at the next meeting as a budget amendment to the
Yeah,
capital.
that's
I
a
was wondering
very.
if it was just a culvert, drainage culvert, not a sewer.
No, it's a gravity line. It's about 300 linear feet, but the actual damage is just right there before it gets down to the lift station, right? So this is where we're having all this soil, all this.
So what's happening is they can't drive out of the front, so they have to drive out the back of the fire station, so it just creates.
Correct.
They're restaging equipment to.
Yes.
to be
Yeah, that's
efficient,
a
but
very
it's just a problem.
sandy area because it used to be a sand pit. As a matter of fact, that Pecan Lake was a sand pit. So the problem is that, we have a high water table, especially with the rains that we've had all through through the years, recent years. So now we have a situation where any little break, that line is a 12-inch line. It's about, I'm going to say it's probably about 12 feet deep. And so it's just inviting problems.
That was the same line that was failed from Forest Drive, right, all the way through? It's
The
same
what?
line- The same line that failed from Forest Drive area?
Yes, that line
Yeah.
is the one that's been experiencing all those,
I mean, that's, I think
all
it's
those
45 years
failures.
old, over 50 years old or something like that?
Yes.
Older.
Yeah, it's a clay line.
Yeah.
It's a clay line. They videoed it and it showed a complete failure at one location. You know, water, I mean, the sanitary sewer is still going through there, but, you know, it's becoming a problem.
Okay. Anything else?
You have any other good news?
And for the, Jeremy's leaving.
All right, we'll move on to items of community interest, and we'll start with Mr. Baker.
We got Halloween coming up. I think we're gonna have something at the rec center.
It's at McLean.
It's at McLean. It's,
Okay, McLean.
McLean Park. It's the Boo Bash.
Okay.
They're gonna have a lot of, local businesses and stuff are getting booths and stuff, and kids can come out and do the trick or treating under there, so.
Yeah, and that's open, I mean, anybody,
Anybody.
like, you mean, anybody running for office can do a table? Is that
I
possible?
believe, so. I don't think they have the political affiliation or anything like that. We don't have booths for that, so.
Robin,
most
can you
of
send me
it's-
something so I can forward that to
Yes.
council?
Yeah, I sure will. I'll get it.
Yeah, I know, I was asked if I would do a mayor table, and it's not, doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to do it, because,
Well, I think what they
timing
were
stuff.
asking is each individual department through
Right.
the city, if they could, you know, do
Oh,
something for
yeah.
that, you know, but it would be great to have you out there to represent it
Yeah.
too, as, you know, part of the
I'll
city.
still see if
so.
I can make it happen, but.
I think, yeah. So.
And the only other community interest would have been if Mr. Yeni was still here, but his Astros are losing 9-0.
Tonight?
And top of the fourth.
They're not your Astros?
Well, they was more.
Not when they're losing.
Yeah, not when they're losing.
I'm more of a Texan fan,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
losing too. So.
All right, yeah, that's true. All right, Rhonda?
Just take a moment to thank Jeremy for all his service to the city of Lake Jackson and wish you the best of luck. All the way in California.
Oh,
Good luck.
good luck. Mr. Buell?
No.
All right, Vinay?
Oh, just a couple items. I don't know if you guys happened to see the Day Tripper show.
Yeah.
We did Lake Jackson, and that was a pretty good show, and highlighted some good parts of Lake Jackson.
Yeah, it's gonna be on PBS, I think Wednesday at 3, and another day this week, late in the evening, so.
3 p.m.
Yeah, 3 p.m., yeah. So, we might be able to find that out and get that out to you guys, so you might be able to look at it. But it's a good, they really did an excellent job. Lake Jackson looks good regardless, but they made Lake Jackson look real good. It's a guy called Day Tripper. He's a national known syndicated, he does stories about communities. The idea is where you can go and you go do a day trip, go into a city and all the things you can do type stuff, so.
Good, okay.
And I talked to the producer afterwards, a couple days afterwards, and they want to come back. They know there's a lot more to discover here in the area, Brazosport area, so they want to come back. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And like to see if we can get some of those reflective buttons put on the curb on OCD at Yopon, at Circle Way, and Sycamore. Because dark areas at night, you cannot see where the left turn lane starts. So I have a lot of issues with some people, like on Yopon, you have those
So-
yellow, but on the side.
Not on the,
Not on the
Not-
pavement,
not on
but
the
on the
curb.
curb, but just
oh, on the,
on the curb on the side, not on the top, on the side.
okay.
So the concrete curbing.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
because at night you just cannot see where the curb starts.
So
So
repainting it wouldn't do any good?
unless it's reflective, it's not going to do any good.
Well, we put the yellow, and it's got that junk in it that kind of.
So Yopon, Circle Way,
No, OCD Yopman, OCD Circle Way, and OCD Sycamore.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
I would just, remind everyone that the fair is underway. I presume they have things going every day, every night. It picks up big on the weekends, of course, but we went out there Saturday for the startup, and we'll be out there again probably next Saturday because we didn't get to play any games or pop balloons or ride any rides, so we'll have to do that on Saturday.
What did you do?
Well, that didn't start until in the afternoon. We went there and, ate some fried Oreos and all the other fun stuff.
Funnel cake.
Pet and Zoo wasn't open. They have one, of course, but we didn't get to do that either. So
Well, what'd you do?
we got to go. We're going back.
All right.
We're going back.
Going back.
I had to just scout it out,
Just a little bit at a time.
plan it out. That's right.
Well, one thing that's interesting that they're doing with the county fair is that, they always have livestock sale, the winners and stuff, but then there's also other students that bring animals to show, and they would like to make a little money off of it also. So there is a program online where you can do online bidding for the other animals, be it anywhere from cattle to chickens to whatever. And that includes processing. So if if you'd like to buy half of a cow or something like that and put it freezer cow, get with a buddy and you can buy a cow and do it, and they'll process it, and they'll give you a phone call and when it's ready to be picked up.
Yeah.
But they're trying to make it as simple as possible, and again, trying to get funds to these students so that they can go, either go to a larger animal for their education or for college type stuff. Is that all you had?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll jump on. My thing real quick was this Saturday I had the opportunity to present a proclamation to Dr. Tom Pruitt for his recognizing his 40 years of mission work that he's done with in providing eyesight glasses and eye surgeries into Guadalajara. Yes, Mexico. I think that's right.
You've been doing that a long time.
Yeah, it's for 40 years. Anyway, so it was really great. There was a lot of recognition. I mean, it started out with $160,000 that was made available by the Methodist Church here in Lake Jackson, and it's grown to they're providing with other sources now. They're providing over $5 million a year of not only eye care but health care for that region and stuff. So it's very impressive what he's done. I've known him since I've known my wife. Patty grew up next door to him, and so he's a great guy. He's 90 years old, and other than slowing down walking, you wouldn't know he's 90 years old. He's a still go-getter. That's all I got.
Oh, one other
Yeah.
thing. Don't forget this Sunday, Our Lady Queen of Peace Fall Festival.
No, that's right.
I'm gonna win a pickup truck.
You're going to win a
Yes.
pickup.
That's why I brought it up. I was gonna.
I've already won that, so y'all just say you know.
You already won. All right, I adjourn. Thank you.
When you get